Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group, and tonight we're going to be talking about the criminal justice system and how that affects people of color. And we have a special guest on tonight. Who do we have here?
My name is Kenneth Rayford.
What's your Muslim name?
Well, I was named by one of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's sons, Nathaniel Muhammad, here in Kansas City, Missouri. And when he met me, he said that I was a wise brother to be so young. And so he gave me the name Hakeem. But I later learned that you can't just name yourself Hakeem. You have to say Abdul Hakim, being the servant of the wise, because you're not the wise. Only the Almighty is the wise. So I am the servant of the wise, meaning Abdul Hakim, last name Musawir, because he said I dressed it real nice. So,
all right. So let's begin with your story.
Okay.
Talk about your involvement in the criminal justice system and tell your story in general.
Okay. Well, you know, for the sake of time, I started out getting in trouble when I was around 8 or 9 years old, and that was the first time I kind of got arrested. But what led up to that, I was very inquisitive growing up. I was always the type of person, my mother used to say all the time, she said, you can't say anything around that boy, because I would ask questions. I used to question about the existence of God, because I wanted to know. And I used to say to myself sometimes, I said, well, if God had a mother and father, then they were God. But anyway, I would shrug that off. I would shrug that thought off, because I said, well, you don't question God. But actually, I think that was a real important point in life, to question things. So I'm saying that I began to drift out into the streets because I rejected
what
church.
area of the city did you live in?
I grew up in the central city in Kansas City, Missouri. Around in 1955, my parents moved on 35th and Montgomery, so I grew up in that area. But I also lived on the east end and of Kansas City, so I was all over, you know. And as a young person, I used to get around the city. I used to run out to Leeds. I used to run out to down on Vine. I used to hang out all over the city because I was attracted to fast people. I was attracted to that criminal element. And like I said, I didn't want to go to school. I rejected church. And so this was the beginning. And that's what's important to me to stress to some of these young people out here. They don't understand and realize how they ended up in the position that they're in this society. I was one of the early pioneers, if I could use that terminology, of rejecting all of this. See, what they wanted us to do, particularly as the Caucasian administration had it set up, they wanted us to go to church, they wanted us to go to school, and they didn't want us to question none of these things. We were to be good tax-paying citizens, enriching their coffers and not really having anything of our own. And so I rejected that type of mentality as a young person, because I was like, man, you know, there's more to life than what I'm seeing. So again, my inquisitiveness led me to go out into the streets, and I was meeting other individuals like myself. Now, I had kind of mentioned to you off the cuff earlier how I had come in contact with people that had told me all these fantasies about Santa Claus and all these different things, but actually they fed us a lot of lies growing up. And so me as a young person, I was rejecting all of this here because it didn't make sense to me. I knew it wasn't no fat Caucasian man with a long beard sliding down a chimney, because our chimney wasn't even open. So these things didn't even, it just didn't make sense to me. Halloween, goblins, ghosts, and all those type of things. And what I'm saying, and that's the reason why I want to reach out to some of the younger people that's out there in the streets, out there in this day and time, because I feel them. I know that they feel the same way I felt. You see what I'm saying? And when we talk about the violence in the city, This here is something that has happened over years and years. This didn't just happen overnight, and people are coming up talking about all their different solutions to the violence in our communities, but yet these things cannot be corrected in 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 months or 1 or 2 years even, because it took years and years for these things to evolve. All the things that happened concerning about kidnapping our people and bringing us over here from Africa, so-called Africa, and bringing us here to this country and enslaving us, and all these things that happened to us, it was a cascade of things that happened. And so the lies that we were nourished and told, all of the untruths that we were told, seeing the harmful and pernicious effects of drug addictions in our communities. And no one cared about these things initially when they were in our community, but when it began to impact upon the European community, then it was a whole different thing. And what I'm saying, and this is where I'm coming from with this whole conversation, is that I was a product of all of this here. I helped kick all these things out. And so now you got a whole bunch of mini-me's out there in the society. People that's young, people that's violent, people that are not accepting the status quo. They trying to get paper, they trying to get money, they trying to enjoy some of the finer things in life, and they willing to do whatever it takes to get it. And what I'm saying, as an individual that has grown and been raised up in this society, that I think that I can impact that. I think that I can share my personal experiences along with the individuals that I have gathered together. I think that we can make an impact. And see, what I'm saying, and this is a point that I really want to stress. See, everybody today, they're talking about how they want to address these different problems, but everybody can't go down in them trenches. You know this yourself. Everybody can't go down there and relate to them young people. And what I'm saying, I know I can relate to them and they can relate to me because we're one and the same. You know, and that's where I'm coming from. That's what makes the difference in an individual like myself. And I'm college educated. I have a master's degree in sociology. I have a bachelor's degree in psych and social. You know, so I'm not coming just off my street credibility. But I have all of that.
I'm the cutoff king to a degree. I cut my guests off. People be saying, Carlos, let them talk. But we talked off camera about you telling your story, and then you said that you know different from a lot of people that grow up in our hood. Right. And it's just like me, you know. I sold drugs, took drugs, did everything, and I don't really feel I had some responsibility, but the system created that. The system puts all of these materialistic things in front of our kids. Our families have been broken up, and so forth, and now you understand the damage that you've done, not just to society, to your own community. I understand, and now by understanding that, we're having this conversation. How can we impact our youth? But we can't impact our youth talking about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and all of this if we're not talking to them straight about why they're in the situation that they're in, and they see their family in, and we can add some wisdom to show them another path.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, Carlos, let me reiterate this point here. When I bring up stuff like that, I'm mentioning the fact that how we weren't taught reality. In other words, now, I'm writing a book. I'm writing the process. I'm right in the middle of developing this book right now. And actually, my thought about a title for the book is actually America Made Me. America made me what I am now. People, the judges and the criminal justice system, they scoff at me and they sit back and, oh, well, you had a chance. You didn't have to do so and so. But they made me, nurturing me off lies, nurturing me off falsehood, keeping me separated from economic parity.
Well, it's about, let me say this. We talked about this off camera, and I always, because I'm in media, Europeans seized all forms of communication since the 7th century.
Right.
And so everything that you see, you're seeing through a Eurocentric viewpoint.
Exactly.
For the most part.
Right.
Even when you think you're black,
you're right.
You're seeing the world because they have dominated the world.
Right.
And where I stand from a media standpoint is trying to take our little slice of media to inform our community on how we look at the world, how we see as black people what's happening in the world.
Right, and that's important.
Yeah, right. Whether we can do anything about it is a horse of another color. But we will know what the reality is, and we possibly can start trying to change that.
Yeah, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, because that's part of the problem. Now, when I came in here this evening and you begin to show me some of the things that you're doing, I'm very impressed. I mean, you know, because like I had no idea that something like this was even available to us. Because again, my information that came about Kansas City was, like you had mentioned earlier, through the call paper. You know, and I mean, that was the only source of black media information that we received. And so, again, that's why stuff like this is so important.
But didn't I say how strange? I can bring any guest on. Like when you came into the office, I said, do you have time? Let's sit down. Let me show you all our networks.
Right.
Don't you think that that is strange, that all the things that you see that we provide for black people that you didn't know anything about?
I mean, definitely. And I've been around 70-something years.
And didn't I show you anybody that is anybody, black or white, basically has been on the network?
Yeah, right.
All right. So, what conclusion can you have if you're thinking critically? There must be something that's keeping us from, and it's almost like the invisible knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Major media, no one wants to write about what we do, and we don't spread what we do. And information applied is power. And so when you can keep your community from empowering itself by receiving valuable information on a myriad of fronts, they are powerless.
Yeah, right, exactly. And see again, you know, that's why I'm so thankful. I praise Allah for the fact that coming in contact with you, because this gives us an opportunity to reach down into that soul, into that belly, and it's not being done. Because a lot of our young people, they're reacting and acting out of what they've heard.
With the major media, mass media.
Right, of how it goes.
Right.
Of what they're supposed to be doing in life. Right.
And so, why would they want you to know alternative source of information? And I'm not picking on our leadership or would-be leadership, but it's shame on them.
Yeah.
That they're not using the
vehicles that are available to them to actually, you know, get to the problem.
Reach our community.
Right. To get
but
to the
I think in the environment now, a change is going to come.
Oh, no doubt. And let me say this here. Malcolm X had mentioned years ago. He said, and I think he got in some trouble in the Nation of Islam behind making that statement. But he made that statement about the chickens coming home to roost. And so a lot of problems that are here in America now, these people created all of this here. They created the violence. What I'm saying is, when I was growing up, watching television, watching Al Capone and Frank Nitti, and hearing about the mobsters out there in Vegas, Meyer Lansky and all these individuals, and then wanting to pattern myself after individuals like this here, and all the gangs and all this stuff. We were fed a constant diet of all of this here. Violence in America. I mean, you know,
black people in general, they have weaponized hip hop. you see the rappers running around, copying each other, buying a ton of jewelry, and who is that? You know, because there's no real guidance out here.
Exactly.
You have brothers shooting up neighborhoods, talking about the block, the state block don't own a piece of property.
And don't even own that, right.
Yeah.
And see that's the type of stuff that I want to address with the young people, because like I've been through all of that. And what I'm saying is that, and that's going back to what you was talking about earlier, see, as that stuff impacted me, I brought that back into our neighborhood. I'm a gangster. I'm this, I'm that. You see what I'm saying? And those things, the Caucasians was there taking what we were doing and taking it to the bank and getting rich out for what we did.
Right.
Minister Farrakhan had mentioned once before, and he talked about that, how like on Wall Street they was trading about hip hop and they was making billions of dollars. Now the brothers out there was getting maybe $1 million.
Hey, hold on. You look at DMX. DMX, 15 kids, his estate, I think they said somewhere about $1 million when he died. DMX 30 years ago had 2 gold or platinum albums at the same time. That man might have made $500 million. If Puffy and them are like that, how you got $1 million only in your account?
Yeah, right. At that late stage.
All right. And so, again, America and the world has been eating off our plate.
Yeah,
it's no different from the continent of Africa, one of the poorest nations, but all the resources that run the world come from Africa.
Right.
They give them worthless paper dollars and they
take
give
all the valuable
resources.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So it's the same thing on a world level, a local level, a nation level, when it comes to people of color.
Yes, right. And see, those are some of the things that I want to really sit down and have some dialogue with some of our youngsters out there, because like I said, I've been through all of these things, and now I want to come back and hopefully they'll listen. Now, here's the thing: by no means do I think that I have a cure-all for all the problems. I know that's impossible, but I think it's important to do as the Holy Quran instructs us to do. The Holy Quran teaches us to come and deliver the message. Now, it's up to you to accept or reject. So I want to make sure that I deliver this message, and I deliver it clear, and I give the warning, and that whatever they do after that is on them. Because Almighty God says also in the Quran, he said it doesn't matter whether if you warn them or warn them not. They're not going to listen, because for the most part, people are hard-headed and hard-hearted. When we go back in history, you mentioned something like about as far back as the 7th century. From the 7th century all the way up to this day and time here, nations have been destroyed because of their so-called disobedience to the Most High. Sodom and Gomorrah, different places in the Bible, Noah's flood. I mean, these things, and different peoples and different nations have documented that these things did occur. Now, what am I saying? I'm saying this here. I'm saying that I'm coming with a warning. I'm coming with a warning that it might be too late even, but the people, if they don't change their ways, America has created this here, and now America is receiving what they put out there. America was the one bought slaves over here and took the land from the Native Americans and enslaved us and treated us bad and kicked us in the butt and kept like for instance, people can come here, other nationalities can come here, and they get a head start immediately. Here we died and we sacrificed. We lived in this country and did everything we could for these people, help building this country up, and they won't give us nothing but a hard way to go.
Let me say this, and getting ready to close. I believe we have a lot of fault ourselves because statistically, we have enough resources to be the 10th wealthiest entity on the planet. But when we can't come together,
right,
then that's
excellent
not possible.
Point.
And so my mission is communications, and by using our network to try to bring all facets of my community on one stage, then we can act on anything.
Right.
If you can have 65% of black people in Kansas City coming to a network, as I said, using the call as a basis.
Right.
30 years ago, the significant amount of the African American community on Friday had the call, and then on Saturday, I would say if 75% had it on Friday, on Saturday, 90% of the community had the call paper, and by Monday, if you didn't have it, you knew what was
going. Yeah, exactly.
Because people had
it been talked about.
All right. But now we're in 2021, and information applied is power, and we are powerless because we're not using the forms and the tools that we already have.
Right.
To have that same communication stream.
Right.
So, hopefully interviews like this will help motivate our community to do better.
Right. And let me say this here. See, I'm not here trying to say, oh, the boogeyman's coming after you. That's not where I'm coming from. But what I'm saying is that you, particularly in our community, they have an opportunity to utilize individuals like myself, and that I can come and give something back.
That you have worth. You have value.
Yeah, right.
But see, what has happened...
and don't be afraid of me. That's what I'm saying.
Hold it. The whole thing is, this is what they paint a boogeyman. See how you're dressed right now? Even to black people, the nation of Islam is a threat because the media has, you could, I would say there's not a black person in America that's got any sense that could say that Minister Farrakhan or the nation is not for black people. So, but they know if they stand strong side by side with you, the people that they have to work with, the people that fund their programs, then they're not going to do that. And so, therefore, for my, it's a matter of survival. It's a matter of lack of courage. But you're playing into the hands of the people that are oppressing you, because if you don't ask for freedom and work for freedom, and I'm talking about economic freedom, then you continue to be in this vicious cycle.
Right. Well, see, like myself, I'm not part of the Nation of Islam per se. I came through there. I grew up in that teaching. I have respect for Minister Farrakhan as an individual. I think that he really cares about our people. I have no doubt about that. But I'm a Sunni Muslim, and I believe in the broader concept of
well, that's what Malcolm wound up going,
learning about.
And most of our community don't understand the Shiite and Sunni.
None of that.
And how Islam was formed, how it split, and all of that.
Yeah, right.
And
again,
why it split.
But again, I want to emphasize the point that I believe, as many millions of Muslims believe all over this world, that the divine supreme being's name and his proper name is Allah. And I believe that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the last messenger. I listened to an interview that this brother named World had done. I think he had some relationship with Lil Kim, but in listening to that interview, and I'm gonna stop here, but in listening to the interview, I think he said a mouthful when he explained about the significance of the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. So but I thank you for letting me be on here this evening, and I think we're gonna get something done.
Isn't as I said, this is a black network, and we are interested in solving problems in our community.
Correct.
Not that we have anything against anybody else's community,
but we want to do our homework with our own community first. And that's where I'm coming from too.
Yeah, because the first thing they want to say is that you against this and you against that. And I'm not against anything.
Right.
I have white people in my family. It's not like, you have good people, you have bad people.
All the time.
But if you want to paint us bad because we have our beliefs and what have you,
that you want to see your own rise up.
That's on whoever's.
But everybody else can do that. Everybody else can help their own kind.
But that's what. But I'm saying, we are only products of our environment.
Correct.
And the environment that we have lived in has been shaped in a Eurocentric perspective.
Amen.
So, as we always close, when you invest in your community, you're really investing in yourself. Wow. Good night.
The program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.